We don't have to wait for anyone. Okay, guys, welcome to the AWS journey, and we're not gonna be like this. I'm gonna simplify things for you, but let's hope you don't end up like this old grandma. She's not a grandma, I don't know. Maybe she's just like having the time of her life. Okay, so we're gonna begin by the introduction to AWS Global Infrastructure. It's one of the most fundamental and easy things to learn about AWS. No hands-on lab is gonna be today. I'm gonna show you a few stuff using the console and all this kind of stuff, but there's nothing that we're gonna do that is a lab, I guess. So it's part one of the AWS journey that we're gonna start. Sorry. And tables of content, we're gonna talk today. We're gonna give a brief introduction. We're gonna talk about regions, availability zones or AZ, edge locations, and these local zones are new. They weren't in my exam, if I remember. We're gonna talk about the characteristics of the AWS global infrastructure and this thing called a scope of services. So what's the scope of the service? I think not a lot of people talk about the scope of service. ما حضرت. Hello, welcome back, late. So there's this important concept about scopes of service. A lot of people don't talk about them, especially in AWS and these kind of stuff. But for me, those are one of the most important concepts, and we need to cover them up. Okay, so introduction. What is an AWS global infrastructure? It's where you place your services. It's everything. It's the backbone of the entire connection of AWS, and it goes on to regions, availability zones, edge location, and local zones. So we have over 200 fully featured services, and these services are incorporated using this, or they're managed by AWS using their global infrastructure. And here in the last line, so AWS provides you with a cloud infrastructure where and when you need it. So this is the main concept of cloud is pay as you go. You have your own infrastructure where and when you need it. Okay, I'm kind of full of enthusiasm because it's day one of the AWS. So next thing we're gonna talk about regions. So what is the region? So kind of region is a physical location worldwide. It's a cluster of data centers, and these regions adhere to certain type of policies, to the highest standards of security, compliance, and data protection. And we're gonna see this after on. So what kind of the standards of security, compliance, and data protection that we're talking about. And it has an extensive global presence. So we can see that AWS is opening regions, and there are also regions all over the world and across the world and across the globe, and we're gonna see that right now. So we're gonna see where's AWS regions and what's coming to the AWS region. Okay, so there is a concept that we need to talk about also. So based on what you should choose your region to deploy your service on. Not considering what type of service. So some services, we're going to talk about them, the scope of services, but there's a few things you need to consider before choosing a region, and these are four things. The first is compliance, the second is proximity, the third thing is the available services or the availability of services, and the fourth thing is pricing. So compliance is literally means that is your data center up to legal and governance compliance? How so? So banks actually can't store their data outside the country. So here in Jordan, I'm from Jordan, you know that banks in Jordan cannot store their data outside of Jordan. And there's a lot of reasons for that, of course, makes sense. But So the first thing we need to consider if we can store anything outside of Jordan, so we shouldn't choose anything unless Jordan, no matter the proximity or the available service or the pricing of that service. So the first thing we really need to consider is compliance, because if compliance didn't checked out, we wouldn't choose any kind of other regions. The next thing we want to consider is proximity and how close you are to your customers. Of course, these are for the latency and for better user experience. So we're going to talk a little bit more about proximity, but it's kind of, we're going to talk about it in the edge locations and edge computing, but proximity is you're here and all of your customers. Let's give an example. Okay. So let's say that you want to deploy your application in maybe America, but all of your clients are from the Middle East. Why? Because the pricing of the services are much less in America than it is in the Middle East. But you're gonna see that clients are starting to have a few problems with their experience on that website because there's latencies, there's lagging, there's a lot of things you need to consider. So you need to consider, okay, maybe pricing is um, an important aspect, but it's not as important as your customers as well. So proximity, the second thing you really need to consider. The third thing is available services. So there are a few new services that are coming to AWS like every day, and a few regions don't have these kind of services. So if you need like an, let's say maybe recognition, which is an AWS machine learning service that you use, and this is only in, let's say, America, so you wouldn't even think of choosing other regions because this service is not available in that region. And the third thing is pricing. So, like uh, services kind of tend to have different pricing based on the country. Like some countries have higher taxes, some countries don't. So there's an example that they always say that Brazil have high taxes than America. So any kind of service in Brazil is gonna be really expensive. So yeah, we're gonna let's actually check that out. I'm kind of curious. It is true, but let's check that out. So we're gonna enter AWS calculator. AWS pricing calculator gives you the thing you need without having an AWS account. So let's create an estimate. And let's say a region, yeah. So let's say East US, and we want maybe, let's put an API gateway for an example. And yeah, I want to leave like everything as it is. So save and add service. And we're gonna have another one, but let's say in Brazil. Okay, let me see what kind of services do we have. So yeah, São Paulo, sorry. And let's have the same API gateway without configuring or adding anything. Okay, so let's view the summary. Yeah, I think I have entered the free tier. That's why it didn't show any kind of upfront or monthly cost. So let's delete it and maybe add, let's add another service that may gain costs. So let's remove these, delete, delete, and let's add a service. So I want to think of a service that will cost. So let's think of maybe, okay, maybe Elasticache. So let's take this. Or no, I want to choose, I know what I want to choose. I'm gonna choose a GraphQL, I think. So what's it called, the GraphQL? Neptune, yeah. It's called AWS Neptune. So I think typically um this cost around like, yeah, exactly, this is cost like $12,000. And it's in San Paulo, so good. So save and add service. Let's save and add service, please. Okay, did I did that. Okay, so let's go back to North Virginia and yeah, exactly. This is what we need. So we can see here the difference. Save Madu. Oh yeah, enter storage requirements. So let's say my like adding stuff. So I just want to save my guy. Okay, let's check out the summary. Okay, I have added only one. I think I should have added the second one. So let's add Neptune here. So Neptune. Okay, I think I added three if I remember. So I have to add three. Yeah. I think this was where I added. So 3 GB. Give you a summary. It's actually in the same region. I don't need that. Let me change it. Can I like delete this? I didn't change the region also. It's in South America. Yes, this is what we need. So Neptune again. I think we only have added here. We have added like 3 GB. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so view service. So you can see actually just from changing this is number of work days. Yeah, I think there's a few things, but nevertheless, even the region in Sao Paulo, São Paulo, sorry, which is in Brazil, kind of give a difference in the pricing. So we can see that using the AWS calculator. So you need to like really have price everything in consideration: compliance, proximity, and available service and pricing. And this is based on your business case. So based on your business case, you can choose these reasons to choose a region. Okay. So I have this link right here and it's gonna talk about, so let's go to the overview. We can see that 33 launched regions, sorry, with each multiple availability zones. We have 105 availability zones, thank you. And CloudFront, we have 13 regional edge caches. So here we can see the globe that were some there's regions coming soon. We can see in Saudi Arabia is coming soon. We can see in Germany coming soon. We can see in Thailand and in Taiwan and in Malaysia they're coming soon, and in Mexico. So we have this here in Sao Paulo, and we have Sao Paulo is 2011. Good. So typically most have like 3 availability zones, as you can see here. And we have something called GovCloud, which is for government cloud. In the Middle East, we have Bahrain, UAE, and we have, yeah. So we have like a lot of the list here. We can see the list of everything we need and the things that are coming soon. Okay. So now we're going to talk about availability zones. We have seen that each region have 3 availability zones. So this is why I chose availability zones to be number 3, because it's number 3 on the content table and every region has 3 availability zones. Okay, so availability zones are basically data centers. So if we went to this and we went to regions and AZs, we're going to see that availability zones are one or more discrete data centers, and they have redundant power, so they have multiple sources of power of networking and connectivity within an AWS region. So a one data center has multiple power source and multiple networking sources and connectivities. Also, to enable like fault tolerance and high availability, AWS give the option to the customer that they can release their application to one or more AZ to enhance fault tolerance. Yes. We're going to talk about what does fault tolerance means and what does high availability means, elasticity and scalability, and all these kind of things. So the advantages of having multiple data centers is, as we said, it's high availability. And these AZs are close proximity. So I think, no, between an AZ and AZ, I think there is minimum of 100 kilometers, I guess. Yes. And they are connected with, you see here that they're connected with a metro fiber optic cables, and they're connected with a high bandwidth, low latency network over fully redundant dedicated metro fiber cables. So this actually this is a question that came in the exam a lot. So all AZs in a region are connected with a high bandwidth. So they're separate in power supply, they're separate in networking, they're separate in connectivity, they're separate. So every data center has their own, and you see here one or more separate data centers. So every data center has its own power supply, its own connectivity, its own networking supplies, but they're all connected using a high bandwidth, low latency, and fiber optic cable. So this actually came a lot, this question came a lot in the exam. So what is an availability zone and how you can tell the difference about that this is an availability zone. Also, you can see here that the traffic between availability zones is encrypted, so it's kind of safe. Okay. So as we said, that there's a question that we always talk about in the exam is, let me write it in the console. Let's say AZ are separated in power supply, networking, and what did we say like before? So power supply, networking, and connectivity. Yes. But they are connected in an AWS region using uh, using high bandwidth. So high bandwidth and low latency fiber cables that are under the ocean, to be specific. Okay, so yes. You can choose also your own availability zone while choosing a service. So you can choose either to put them in availability one's AZ1 or AZ2 or AZ3, or you can put them like in 1 and 2 and 3, maybe just 1 and 2. This also, you have to consider the pricing and the business case that you have. Okay, so edge location is kind of different than availability zones and region. So edge location or edge computing, I really don't like to read off the slide. So let us open the link we have here at edge computing. So we need to understand that edge computing is kind of different. The service for edge computing, it's called AWS CloudFront. So AWS CloudFront. So if the exam gives you a question about talking about edge locations or CDN, which is content delivery network. So let's write this content delivery network. You're gonna know that your answer is CloudFront. Okay. So edge locations and CDNs and CloudFront. So CloudFront is an edge location service. So here you can see. So edge locations are like a lot. So you can see here there are more edge locations than regions and availability zones. And edge locations are typically used to enhance proximity, to enhance or lower the latency, as you can see here. So it has a low latency connection, and it enables you to give and deliver content more easily and faster, and also using the AWS Global Accelerator for network performance improvement. So I'm trying okay. So let's think of, let me have a whiteboard. So whiteboard, not white hex code. Okay, so let's have a whiteboard. So guys, do you know what is a static website? Let me write this down to you. So basically, I'm gonna show you a static website. So let's open my static website. So Jure, I forgot what it's called actually. I used to have a profile for me. Let me see. Not Junior Maya, not Junior Maya. So actually, I have lost my, and I forget about it. So Junior website, not Junior. I want Junior website. I kind of forgot. I'll check it out right now. Okay, so we have a static website. Don't want to click. So we have a static website. So a static website is basically doesn't have any kind of database connected to it. So it's just only HTML and a few stuff. So it's only HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Okay. So like there's nothing a lot to share right here, but if you want to share it to customers and you have maybe like a blog, a portfolio, I just remembered. So website portfolio. Okay, let's write free. I think it's gonna show if we did that. Is it possible that I have really forgot? Let me open my LinkedIn. I think I have it on my LinkedIn.
بس هي
One,
باختصار إن هي one page إنه ما فيش فيها صفحة توديني about me أو content أو أي شيء ثاني.
but actually, no. It may have more than one page. It's just it's not connected to a database. You can connect multiple pages using here it is. Okay, so you can connect multiple pages using like here. See, this is my portfolio, and this is doesn't it's not connected to any kind of database. It's just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And if I like clicked on the GitHub, it's gonna open another my GitHub repository. So this is not connected to any kind of database. So no database. So if you want to make this a better experience for customers, we can deploy. So let me write it here. We can deploy to CloudFront. And if a client is closer to CloudFront, so if a client is right here, oh, that's a beautiful client. He has I mean like fix that because he looks okay, I guess that's good user. So if he's closer to CloudFront, he's gonna get a copy of the static website on CloudFront. So it's like a cache. We call it like cache. So if you work in web development, you can understand the term cache. Cache is like having a copy about something that's static, like a static website, let's say. And edge location helps with this type of stuff. I wish I had like a picture. Maybe if I did something else. So let me go down here. So if we have here like our server, sorry, server. I'm really bad at drawing. And I'm deploying it like to multiple CloudFronts. So CF CloudFront, CloudFront, CloudFront. So now clients, wherever they are, so if there is a client right here, it can talk to this CloudFront or this CloudFront instead of going to the actual server. So this is much faster than going to the actual server to have multiple copies on edge locations. Edge locations are kind of they're used in IoT stuff and edge computing. They call it edge computing. So there's a lot of use cases for edge computing. Maybe places without good internet, you can use edge computing. So proximity to data source, bandwidth optimization, and real-time processing. There's like a full chapter on CDN and content delivery network and edge computing. So I'm not gonna talk about it a lot today. So local zones is a new concept. It wasn't on my exam. So it's an extension of an AWS region that places compute storage and database and other select AWS service closer to end user. There are idle with application requiring a single-digit millisecond latency to end users. Now, I have a video talking about it to make it even more clear. It's from AWS itself. Can you hear the video? Can you hear the video? So let me check if you can hear the video. I think I can share. I think I can share the audio. Okay, let me try and share the audio. And I'll open like subtitles if you can hear that. Okay, so we kind of understand that the AWS local zone, it's like an extension of the AWS. So it has a parent. So as we understand that the local zone has a parent as its region, and this local zone has the services we need packaged, and we can use it like a normal region. Yes, I have to share my screen and share the audio. Yes, but it's fine. So if we open local zones, we can see that they are an extension of regions. So it's low latency network, and you can run application closer to your end users. Here's how it works, and you can open this link that I have incorporated in the slides to do so. Okay, thank you, Leigh. Okay, so characteristics of the AWS global infrastructure. So first thing is security and it's security and its compliance. It's compliant. So how is it security and compliance? Like, I'm sorry, the full slide is full of memes. It's like how I get to explain stuff and understand and maybe memorize them. So data centers are really secured, like in the easy level, let's say. They're really secured. They have surveillance. They have these laser things, and they have security guards and parameter security. And you can see here that no one can enter these kind of data centers. I don't think that you even know where they specifically are. And network security, so they have put various mechanisms and measures, and such as firewalls and encryption and DDoS mitigation. So DDoS is distributed denial of service. People from the cybersecurity department are gonna know what is a DDoS DDoS attack or DOS attack. And also compliance program, as we said, that AWS is compliant to a lot of certifications and standards, such as the HIPAA, ISO. This ISO, to be specific, that 27001 is for cybersecurity, and SOC 102 and 3. So let's check out the ISO 2007 or 01. It's for security stuff. I think, yeah. Here it is. Information security and cyber management stuff. Yeah. So we can know that the AWS regions and availability zones and data centers are very secure. They're also highly available and fault tolerant. So highly available, it's literally like this guy. He's always saying, I'm available. And it's like whenever you need it, you're gonna find it up and running. And a fault tolerance. So let's go back to why did we create a fault tolerant application? So some application, if they're only like dependent on, let me like select this and delete it. So if we only have one server, so if we have one server and the application is running on this server, so app. So if this server fails, if this server fails, and this is called a single point of failure. So basically, it means that we only have one thing that the application is running, and if this one point fails, it's called a single point of failure, and it's gonna cause our application to crash. So the how to solve this is we need more like copies of this server, redundant server. So we need to have like here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one, and here's one. And anything that changes in this server is gonna synchronize and change also in the other services, so servers. So to solve the single point of failure, you have to have a fault tolerant application, multiple servers, and to make it even more fault tolerant is multiple server and different AZ, so in different availability zones or different data centers. So if a data center or an availability zone went down due to earthquake or some kind of a natural disaster, you still have the second one up and running. So these are the difference between high tolerance and high availability and fault tolerance. Also, we have scalability and elasticity. So it's kind of like this rubber band right here. I think I have my. So this is elastic, as you can see here. So the elasticity comes from adding and removing instances or services based on demand. And AWS give you the opportunity to do so. So the elasticity comes from automatic scaling. So the difference between scalability and elasticity, as I understand it, scalability is kind of manual, elasticity is automated. Like the EC2 autoscaling group and AWS Lambda. And so AWS Lambda is kind of what's called a serviceless server, serviceless. So let me write this down. Let me go to different points. So serverless is as a scalable services in AWS. It doesn't mean it doesn't have a server. Why did it give me an arrow? I don't want an arrow. No, I don't. I don't want an arrow. Okay. So serviceless, it doesn't mean it doesn't have a server. You just don't manage these servers. So you don't manage these their services, servers. So elasticity and scalability, these are options given by AWS. You can like deploy multiple EC2 instances in a second in different availability zones using an auto-scaling group. Global network. So as we can see here, Mr. Worldwide of Pippo, one of my favorite my favorite artists right here. So you can see that the AWS operates on a global network. So this is AWS, it's not Pippo, and you can see that AWS has its hands on the whole globe. And you can see here that is fast and reliable, and AWS has its own network over the world. It's also sustainable. So this is a new pillar of AWS. It's the sixth pillar of AWS, the sustainability part. So this helps in environmental and stuff. It gives you like you can operate tens and hundreds of computers without having it physically on your on premise, and like you wouldn't care or you wouldn't handle any kind of your own data center, so you will have less power supply, less emissions, and less environmental stuff. Okay, so let's talk about number 7, which is the scope of the services, and this is really important. So these are one of the most important topics for me personally. I really care about this slide, so let's take a look. So we have three. We have global based, we have region based, and we have availability zone based. So global based, we have CloudFront, we have IAM, which is going to be our topic for tomorrow, and we have Route 53, which is a DNS service. We're going to talk about it right now. We're going to open our console and check these out. So region based, we have EC2 instances, the databases, which is a relational database server, and simple storage or storing buckets, so S3. These are region-based. Availability zone-based is elastic block storage, RDS spot multiple AZ deployment, and Elasticache. These are a few services we're going to talk about later on in the journey. So let's go and take a look at the console. So this is my console. So here we can see the availability, the regions we have. So we have here multiple regions that we can deploy on that are not enabled for that account. That's fine. I don't even need them. So I can change between Ohio and North Virginia, like in a click. So let me go back to North Virginia. So you can change between regions in just a click. So some kind of like CloudFront, as you can see here, if you open it, you don't even choose. You see here, it's global. So now you don't choose the region for the CloudFront. So let's go back. Let's check RDS. No, not RDS. Sorry, Route 53. So even Route 53, it's because it's a DNS, a domain name server. It's kind of also gonna be global, like it has to be global. So it's a DNS server. Okay, so let's open on EC2 instance and let's check EC2 instance. So you can select what availability zones and what kind of you can select on what kind of availability zone you want. So let's kind of launch an instance and see what kind. So here we go, went back to North Virginia instead of global. And we can also choose on what type of instances we need. So let's try and launch an instance. Sorry. Launch an instance. Okay. So you can see here that I think it's going to give you the opportunity to maybe launch, let's say, two. If you when you're launching, considering launching, okay, I don't want that right now. Oh, sorry, I pressed 3 by mistake. So here, when you want to launch an EC2 instance, it's gonna launch based on the region you are in. So if I change to Mumbai, it's gonna launch this instance in Mumbai. I'm not gonna launch an instance. I did that already. So let's see EBS. EBS. I think EBS is in here. Yeah. It's because it's a block storage, like a hard drive. Let me see where is EBS. Let me go back to services and go to storage. Let's see. So here's storage, EFS. Okay, apparently I can't see EBS. It's gonna be like here. Yes, here it is, an EBS volume. So EBS is on an availability zone. It's only connected to one instance. There is a possible way to connect it to multiple instances, but it's not typically recommended. If you want to connect to multiple EC2 instance, you can use a file system. So it's literally a hard disk for, let's check Elasticache. So Elasticache, here it is in memory cache. So also Elasticache, it should be on availability zone level. Yes. Okay, guys, so I think this is the end of today's session. Yes, there is only one thing before we go. So there is a service by regions to list the available AWS services in regions. So we can go like down and see what kind of in North Virginia. So we can see that there is Amplify, Mesh, App Runner, and all the services we need, as you can see here. So if we went back, maybe let's see one of the most new regions. So let's choose, we choose like something in the Middle East. Okay, I think you're gonna see that Amplify is not there anymore, which was the first one, or Mesh or AppMesh, sorry. Appreneur also is not there, so you can see it's a little bit less of a services. So yeah, kind of every region has its own kind of services. So thank you guys, and we're gonna have our Q&A session right now. We're gonna ask you a few questions, but let me first stop the recording. And thank you for